Welcome to Drop Pod, episode 22B. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is a continuation of episode 22. There's going to be a lot of offhand topics for the second part of 22. You guys enjoy it? So I wanted to talk about this trend lately with just any live service.
Oh, they all suck and they all die?
Correct. Unless they are the very big ones, like Call of Duty or Fortnite.
Well, you have to be in there.
I'm sure they...
Look, if you're not number one, but you're number two, then you're perfectly fine. If you're number three, though, then you're not doing good.
I wanted to talk about... You never watched it. I wanted to talk about the brands that are kind of associating with games. You got Fortnite, very well known for collaborating with a lot of different IPs. And you look at Fortnite and it is just this giant conglomeration of an ad. Like, that's how I view Fortnite. It is a ad.
Pretty much, yeah.
Call of Duty, despite the reboot of the franchise in 2019, which made me jump back on board with the series because I had taken a hard pass of everything they did post Black Ops 1. I played each of the campaigns, but I didn't stick around after that. Borrow a CD or something and played the rest. Anyway, 2019 came out with the intent of like, we're going back to just real, gritty, telling a story. Everything is super realistic, hand-drawn animations. Everything looks very good, detailed. Boom. You guys won't see us deviating from that. Will there be a Battle Royale mode? Oh, I actually really like the Battle Royale, is what the game director at the time said. You guys won't see it, though.
And before
half a year later. Here's the entire separate Battle Royale mode that we've been developing, and people were like, do you think we're stupid? Like, here's this huge map that you guys are using for like multiplayer, and you guys don't think we know that you're going to use this for some Battle Royale thing? 6 months later, here's the Battle Royale. Call of Duty has gotten really crazy with the skins. Now, if you guys know me whatsoever, you'll know that my favorite heroes include Batman, Spawn, unfortunately Blade, due to very cringe circumstances, Deadpool. Spawn featured in Call of Duty as it goes Cold War, as one of the characters that you unlock in a battle pass. So imagine that. It's not even like some like event skin. It's like, no, here's the battle pass, and if you want, you can unlock Spawn. Somebody from a completely different IP, world, what have you. Here's Nicki Minaj as well. Oh, just to celebrate the launch of Diablo 4, side of Modern Warfare 3, you can play as both
John Diablo,
Lilith, the boss lady of Diablo, and I think it's Tyrael. That's the only angel the game talks about anymore. But you can play as either of those characters. Had you pre-ordered Diablo 4. And with Fortnite, it is literally that. It just looks like a blob of different ideas.
It's the same thing. Like when I was first seeing like, oh, Nicki Minaj is in Call of Duty Warzone now, the Battle Royale thing. Okay, like we're so far gone from like what the franchise even started out as. At this point, it's like, okay. I'm like, that's stupid. I don't get it. And then like, it just clicked one day. I was like, no, wait, it's literally just Fortnite. It's literally just Fortnite. And I haven't had a problem since then because it's not Call of Duty. It's literally just Fortnite. That's it.
So it's not too far off the realm that some games would want to do like a crossover thing, like Deep Rock Galactic and Helldivers have been thrown around a bunch of times. Hell, ODSTs and Helldivers have been thrown around a bunch of times. It's not bad to say that even your fan base would be like, oh, that would be cool if this ever got like a neat little crossover. But with Fortnite, it is everything under the kitchen or under the yellow sun that gets to be in the game.
Naruto.
Franchises that have no business being of like family, like Peter Griffin, that has no business touching Fortnite. Some interesting ones. You got Louis Vuitton and League of Legends. You had Shell, the oil company, inside of. Do you remember if it was like that Fortnite racing game? It is some game that it shouldn't even be like broaching. You had Roblox and a clothing company. I kind of want to pull that one up because that one worries me the most out of anything. For very
because a bunch of babies are going to want to buy these really expensive clothes.
Well, it's just that it's more so that, and here's the thing. In Europe, they have ways to stop companies from advertising to kids. You kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be advertising to children, and believe it or not, children are one of the best benefactors when it comes to advertisements. With what money? You already know. But
the parent money.
Yes. In Europe, specifically in the UK, they have laws to kind of protect children against that sort of stuff, but that doesn't apply to everywhere, obviously. So when you have a game like Roblox where a bunch of kids are playing it, it's one of the better places to kind of advertise. So many people are playing it.
Yeah.
I do want to pull this up, but even Destiny like does it, but Destiny does it in like a kind of way that it is.
Well, Destiny 2 mentioned. There it is.
They do it in a unique enough way that people kind of give it a pass. Like they did the Assassin's Creed crossover. So they brought, like some of the heroes from Assassin's Creed, their outfits into Destiny 2, but they made those outfits like work in the sci-fi aesthetic of Destiny 2. I think that's fine. But when you are straight up pulling like Rick and Morty into Fortnite, I think that's just kind of silly. You know, as far back as, the early 2000s, you used to get like games, like full on games when you like purchase cereal. I'm sure a lot of people remember Chex Quest. I'm sure, well, probably not those fucking audios.
Yeah. I remember Chex Quest.
Yeah, Chex Quest. For those of you that don't know, it is literally Doom. It is a fork of Doom. And instead of all of the guts and violence and gore, they just replaced that with, I believe you teleported the enemies elsewhere. I think that's like how they got away with what they got away with for children's branded cereal.
There were a ton of just really shitty CD-ROM games that would come with your
that
cereal.
Is literally what used to happen. You fast forward a little bit. There was some game, I think it was in development by a Skittles like brand deal that ended up turning into Alice in Wonderland, the video game. You also had Sneak King, which was a Burger King.
Oh, I get it. It's like sneaking.
Yes.
It's a stealth game.
Yeah, Doritos Crash Course was a free Xbox Live Arcade game back when Xbox Live Arcade existed during the 360 era. And that sort of stuff was fine to like advertise on the platforms, but then everything is like moving to in-game and like direct to your face. Buy this now. And we thought it was kind of like corny, but kind of like you understood it if it was like in a sports game like Madden or something, like or like even one of those UFC games, because that's how the arenas are typically set up. You'll see ads on the floors from like the sponsors for that fight. So if like Harley Davidson was sponsoring a fight, you would see like Harley Davidson's logos plastered inside of the octagon. inside of a UFC video game, though, you would see those ads placed in game, and people were like, okay, as long as it's just that, though.
Or it's like NBA, whichever one, having like literal ads playing in game, not like in between loading screens, you'd get ads.
Yeah. And people were like very much against that, but it's like, oh, it's just the way it is. In general, I just it's crazy how, like, I wouldn't say game developers, but definitely like the C-suite, the executive level, they're like still trying to find ways to like broadcast these like products out there, and it does well. Like, take Fortnite, that'll last the test of time. But just getting your.
I was gonna say another big one. I was just thinking of was with Death Stranding and Monster Energy.
Yeah.
And Sam, the main character, is just chugging down monster after monster. And like, you need to every time before you go out and deliver packages. You need to, because it gives you a stamina bonus. However, with re-releases, that's when it becomes an issue. And you could look at Dragon's Dogma 1 for like the title menu was like this funny, like very like fog based like rock song. And then the re-release, Dark Arisen, had this more in line with the game sort of like fantasy, kind of music.
Yeah.
Whereas with Death Stranding on the re-release, Monster Energy was nixed. So it's just like in-game brand energy drink. So not all sponsorships and collabs last forever, because they will just be taken out. We'll never see them again.
As an addendum, for the Roblox thing, it was JBL. JBL makes audio devices, speakers, and whatever. They made a world inside of Roblox where people can kind of like learn about JBL, the franchise, and all this other stuff. I want you, we did this earlier in the episode. Guess how many people currently have played that world?
Probably at least 1 million.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah.
No, Roblox is huge with children. And I hate it because Roblox is where all the pedophiles gather.
Literally. Aside from that, just not being like a very good place, like people were saying like, oh, well, if you don't want to do VR chat, so I was throwing around the idea that I'll probably do that as like a meme at some point. It's COVID, whatever. I have a VR headset. But then they're like, well, if you don't want to do that, why not try Omegle? It's like, I will get killed. There's some actual monsters on that. No.
The people who you think are jokingly jerking off, it's like, are you jerking off? No, they actually are.
Yes.
This time they actually are.
Yes.
It's not just some dude washing their dishes.
That was basically it. I just think it's interesting that how like modern game development has gone so like
awful, shitty,
immersive
terrible.
ads. I feel like brands in general are just kind of ruining the pacing of development. What happened to just like making a goddamn video game?
Because they are more expensive and the industry is bigger than the movies and TV industry combined. Fun fact for those who didn't know.
What do you think the development cost of Concord was for 8 years? I'm going to shoot for the ballpark of like with Sony money and what they're planning to do with week to week cutscenes, probably 200 mil.
Yeah, I was going to guess 100 million. Either of those, honestly, are about right, I would say. For fucking 8 years.
For 8 years, week to week.
A full staff
and,
on that game.
And we're not even counting.
Plus whoever they outsourced.
Well, that, and then we're not even counting the advertising after the fact.
That too, yeah. Which like at the Game Awards, I forget what between the Game Awards and Jeff Keighley's SummerSlam Game Jam, I forget what the actual amount was, but it's like for like a 30-second ad, it was like a couple $100,000, I think.
Wild.
Yeah. It's like, you wonder how those events come together? It's because of that shit. Because you have to pay like a lot of money. I don't think it was that much. I think maybe like for 60 seconds, it might have been like 250,000 or something like that. Because like, you know, you'll have these like indie games like show for very short periods of time.
People are wondering why, you know, like why do development teams need to have like funding from some fucking random like dude that's like super rich? And it's like, well,
For a lot of reasons.
well, yes. Like, I need
Some random dude, of course, being people in the stocks meetings, board meetings.
their investors sitting there. They don't know anything about game development, but you have to spin your game to them as if like, no, this is going to be definitely a good venture for you, for sure. Mm-hmm.
There was a discussion I heard recently about this with investors being, and I forget which game it was, but it was that one of them was legitimately asking why a game couldn't be done within a month.
Yeah, no, they don't get it.
No, like that is the most, if you wonder why they don't understand that right there, one of them asking why a game can't be finished in a month. That is the number one answer that you should give everyone every time. They don't understand the process.
And it's really strange how that is, because it's like we blame the investors a lot of the times, but they don't know what's going on internally. Bungie was like a huge proponent to this when they would have to like ask for like funding, especially when they were like solo.
Yeah.
And you know, they would get their wish in certain areas. Tencent got involved a little bit, you know, but it's like it keeps the development process afloat, and it keeps the company itself afloat. But it's just like games have gotten to such a higher standard. And you know what else is weird? It's like the technology in games hasn't really gone up in terms of like visual fidelity. Like, you know, obviously from like 2000 to 2010, huge leap in like graphical quality, just the quality of games in general. But then you, honest to God, like play something from like 2012 up into like 2020. I don't think you're really going to be hard pressed to go like, oh, this game doesn't look all that bad compared to this game, like Halo 4 that came out on the Xbox 360.
Well, depending on what the studio and what the game is, of course.
I think that game still looks better, even though it looks very janky in terms of its art direction. Like, I still think that game looks better.
Well, that's one thing. That's art direction. But like in terms of like just exponential like graphical fidelity, I feel like at least as of right now, we have probably peaked and we've hit like a plateau in about like the past 4 to 6 years.
He's like 4 to 6. I'm going as far back as almost like 10 or so years.
No, I wouldn't say that, because again, there's like not every one of them, but there's a lot more games nowadays that try to do that realism angle. I mean, look at the aptly mentioned Concord, and it's like, yes, it looks really good. We have this really expensive motion capturing system, and you're going to have a new story every week. And like, okay, that's the selling point. Okay. But, and I'm just saying, like, we've reached a plateau now of not artistic style, just graphical fidelity. At least as of right now, we've reached a plateau where I don't think games can get any better than they can now. Like with Nathan Drake, like, oh, he has like individually modeled chest hair, or you look at a Senua's Sacrifice, or not Sacrifice, the new one, the Squeakquel.
Yeah.
That being very good looking. Even like Cyberpunk to an extent, at least with its lighting anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, Cyberpunk to me,
I think Cyberpunk has a more artistic style to the characters. Like, they look realistic, but I think that's more a part of just the art style is really good. But the lighting itself is like one of the best sources, I would say, out there.
So,
Like games are doing individual things that are making them really good. Some are doing, everything that's making them like graphically really good looking. But I feel as of now, we're not going to get any better unless like something huge is introduced.
so the last game that I was like really impressed graphically was like The Witcher 3 that came out in 2015. And then we got Cyberpunk. And then I was like, this is like the best looking game I've ever seen in a while. Everything else up until that point, like I haven't really been too like Kingdom Come Deliverance. That all right, that looks kind of neat just because it's like CryEngine. But sometimes, like if you're just looking at stills from Kingdom Come, like that kind of just looks good.
See, the thing with that is like if you're looking at like just like full, like you said, stills, but like just like, oh, here's like a castle in like the countryside or whatever. I would say, yeah, it looks like really good. But like actually seeing the people though, like I feel like again, it's like that I feel is an artistic interpretation of like, oh, this is real life. Like it's not as close to like this is a real person as, like some other games. Like not to say it looks bad. It's just I don't think it's like, yeah, this is the peak of this is the best looking game possible. Because there's still that artistic style that I feel is in there. That like, I don't know, maybe am I trying to say that if you want to have your game looking as realistic as possible, then you lose artistic style?
Well, I think I don't think you're too off base. They were saying games tend to look more muddy these days when you try to push past like a certain like polygonal limit. So like right now, like we're still attempting to do that in some games, especially if it's like Unreal based. That this isn't a dig at Unreal, by the way. This is just
I doubt it.
I will listen. I will take my chance, and I will let you know when I am taking my chance. This is not one of them. But you'll look at like some Unreal depictions, especially from their, like their CES showcases or even like a game showcase, where they're just doing like tech demos. Especially when UE5 was like first coming out, we all saw like the tech demos of that and their rendering. That looked really good. And now we're seeing developers actually develop on UE5. Some of these games, aside from Body Cam, which was a tech demo initially, some of them still just kind of look, and you'd be hard pressed to go, I don't think this was done on UE5, but it was. But it still looks like it was like a UE4 style game, despite like the huge graphical leap from UE4 to UE5. I think people are trying to do too much in terms of trying to make their game real. You know what game people are like really saying like looks super good, like graphically, this is probably like the best visual in a game like ever. It's a racing game by the name of
yeah, that makes sense.
It's a racing game by the name of Assetto Corsa, which,
no, I haven't heard of it.
It's a very well liked game. Honestly, because I think it has like VR support or something. But you look at like the in-game like graphics on that, from like the asphalt to like the tracks, like the guardrails and the side rails when you're actually like in a track, to the cars themselves.
Yeah.
So like even the people that you're not even really looking at all, because they're just blurs as you're like driving past them. Like even that looks like insane. They did something called laser scanning, which I don't know what that is, but apparently that it makes the rendering really good on the models that they use. And I think like a lot of racing games just look good. Like Forza, like I haven't played Forza since Horizon came out, like the very first one way back when. It's like 2011. But even like now that at Horizon 7, there's also a game called Project Cars 2. Like both of those games look like incredible. And I think that's just because they have time to like actually like scan full models of cars.
I think frankly, that's like a facet of like games that just are expected to look as good as possible. Racing games, like that is the point. Like, oh, you're gooning over these realistic realistically modeled cars, wherein like the same way it could be said for like gun porn or, you know, like shooting games or whatever. Like, oh, you have all these different things, or like even in VR, where it's like, oh yeah, you can like take apart this gun and like put it back together, and there's all these different mechanisms, and it does this and this and this, and like, oh, are these you know, the sights correct on it, whatnot.
I'm one of those.
Like, yeah, like the point of that is like, you know, realism in that way, because it's like, yeah, this car looks so great. That's the point. I mean, the racing is there too, of course, but like
that's an afterthought.
Yeah. And at least with body cam, like you mentioned before, that was a good thing to bring up. Body cam, I feel like the artistic style in that is the point of it being realistic.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be emulating body cam footage, which, yeah, the game looks fucking realistic. If you look close enough, yeah, you're gonna see like some shadows and like, this looks like slightly off. But yeah, it's like it's pretty close to realism, I would say, because of the way it's being presented. And that is like its artistic style, which I would say works for it, as opposed to like, you know, whatever like AAA game that's like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's supposed to look realistic, and then just all the designs are, like you said, muddied. Or you look at Concord and all of the designs and characters are not memorable at all.
It is so uninspired, the characters in that game. The fact that they thought that was so well is crazy.
I saw two funny things about this. I saw a post on Twitter, like a square of all of the characters, like on one photo, and my eyes just glazed over. Like, I didn't see a single one of them. And like, I was listening to Castle Super Beast podcast, and Pat was pointing out like, oh yeah, there's this one character like where he's just like a dude wearing like armor or whatever. And I had to like, I struggled for like a couple of seconds to even find who they were talking about, because just all of them blend together so easily. Yes. And the funniest thing, the second thing is that like the most liked character right now, as far as I know, is the fucking robot. Yeah. That has no characteristic to it at all. It's just a big yellow fucking cylinder.
That is literally the character that everybody has like been talking about, and that is it's not even a unique looking, like it's I know, actually that's not true. No, that's the most unique looking character out of that cast.
Which isn't saying a lot, because it's just a cylinder.
I mean, that's the thing though. I can only remember that character. They had the green dude. They got
who green dude? The poster boy green dude with like the knot beard, or chin scruff, alien scruff.
Yeah, the alien scruff.
I think and like I would need to look over all of them, but I think the laziest design out of all of them is that dude who I was just saying, the dude with like the armor. He looks like a militia guy.
Oh, I forgot. Like, I forgot he was even in the game.
Some dude wearing like, I think white armor and like a white helmet. And sorry, white armor being just like a chest piece, like football, you know, gear. You just throw it on and like there it is. And he's just wearing normal clothes, and he looks like so uninspired. 8 years. What were they doing for 8 years on these fucking designs?
You ever heard the statement behind like Western developers are like really like pushing back against the idea of like characters need to look like good compared to like Eastern development games, like the first Descendant, like everybody in that game is like eye candy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, everybody in that game looks good. The woman. Oh boy. The men. Yeah. The men look good. And like most of them at least look cool, but like every woman in that game is just like goon worthy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like
and the amount of skins, it's funny too. Like in comparison, like everybody's playing as the woman and like so few people are playing as the men. Ergo, there are so few like alternate skins for the male characters in that game.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, that one's a that one's a Korean based game, correct? Yeah.
I was going to bring up like, you had that Fable showcase, and I didn't think anything was wrong with the character design that they showed off, but a lot of people took like people were offended. They were offended that the character could look like that, and I'm like, I didn't see much wrong with that character. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh my god, it's Fable. And then I look at the comments. I'm like, dude, why is she an absolute butterface though? It's like, well, what do you want?
That's the art style. I mean, to be fair, Fable characters don't really look all that good.
They never really. They've always been like this,
like weirdly proportioned,
super cartoonish,
and like the entire world feels like the entire world almost gives me the same sort of feeling where it's like everything's really big, but your character is really small. It's the same sort of feeling I get with like WoW, where it's like all these worlds are built to be really big so it can accommodate all of these players at once. But like with some of the geography and just way things are made in Fable, like you have these really proportioned characters and then the world's being way bigger than they need to be. Not like open world, but just everything modeled size. I always felt like anyway.
So, people gave The Last of Us Part 2 flack for the way that the characters looked in that game. That compared it.
Give it flack that it's a fucking awful game.
But yeah, I mean, aside from that aside,
gameplay's fun though.
Gave flack for that. It's like we went from like Tomb Raider, the reboot. People were very upset that Laura was too pretty. To we're now upset that the characters don't look as pretty.
Yeah, that's Horizon Zero Dawn. That's another great one. It's like, why does she look ugly?
Yeah, so people are thinking like there's like the secret like cabal network that's like telling Western developers like stay in your lane, bro. Just keep it. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, Eastern development, it's like, oh, every single one of our characters, this is for the good of humanity. Just have them be pretty. It's so stupid. Like the first Descendant, like the first guy that you see in First Descendant, he's like supposed to be like your control character, the guy that's like in your ear the entire time. It's like, oh, I went through many battles and I have many scars. And then you see him and it's like this like good looking dude.
They're there. They're there. Don't worry. I feel like that's probably a case though of like Eastern developers are not as concerned as like body image, like concerns or issues compared to when we say West, frankly, everybody in fucking America.
Yep.
And a little past that, where it's like, oh, they need to look this way. And I'm on Twitter perpetually and I'm screaming. I'm internally screaming. Why don't I have characters that represent me? It's just like the Eastern developers is like, they look sexy. Like, no, Concord, no, nobody cares that you did make big female characters. Nobody does.
No. You think?
Also, did you know that the robot identifies as he, him?
I did actually. People wouldn't shut the fuck up about that.
I just don't understand. Who cares? It's a Robert.
A lot of people. Okay. Got it. Here we go.
I mean, that's one conversation, but like it's a Robert in a video game.
I think it's well. All right, I'm not going to get into the whole DEI thing, but Blizzard had put out their like earnings call, and in that earnings call, it was leaked that here's their plan of like inclusivity in their games.
Yeah, their pie chart.
So for a lot of people, especially those that are representative of these metrics, like they're, even myself included, like I'm very against, especially what a big brand like Blizzard is attempting to do, because it seems like you're being marketed to, not you're being included. It's rather, we're throwing you in this, and that helps us actually bring up our sales. Otherwise, we're not bringing that up at no earnings call that we're doing this. Otherwise, we would just do that out of the goodness of our company. No,
it's just like there's a purpose to it.
Yes, and
that
I feel like you see this with a lot of games too. Like people will pay like pretty good money, especially if their culture is inundated into the game. Like if you see something from like Brazil, like you get a Brazil flag and you have to pay, $3 for the Brazil flag. Like you're going to do that.
You get Brazilian Hatsune Miku.
Yes. Like people will buy that. So I think for a lot of people, it's like, I just don't want to feel like I'm being sold. Rather just like it's one thing if you're just including it, does that make sense for the game that you're trying to make? But it feels,
as opposed to being pandered.
Yes,
to.
It feels like it's kind of forced. So that was like the whole Blizzard debacle. But then you had like Sweet Baby Inc. start coming up. I talked about this on like a previous episode, but people are like really upset. And I understand it's not good. It's not unreasonable that a developer, especially if you know nothing of like certain cultures or whatever, or how people act, it's not unreasonable that they will call a consulting firm so that they make sure that what they're doing is like correct. Like if I make a game about like the cartel, I want to at least make sure that I know the subject matter of what I'm trying to say. That way it's just not coming across as like, oh, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing or talking about even. So it's not unreasonable at all to say that they would consult. But then Sweet Baby Inc. starts coming up on the scene as like a new consulting firm. And so far, everything that they have touched up in smokes. Saints Row, a game that was never meant to be taken seriously at all. It seemed like they went in like a complete 180 direction with what they were doing. Is
that the remake of the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was like strike one. They worked with it was on Jeff Keighley's Super Sleep Flintlock, and this was a game that I was kind of keeping tabs on because I thought this game was gonna be like DOA because the trailer had announced itself as like, this is a Soulsborne, is what they put in their trailers, like big bold lettering. I'm like, there's no shot that game is gonna get past the front door of somebody's computer. And in fact, that game, to say that game died a horrible death is an understatement. There are 16 people playing that with an all-time peak of 600. That's almost as bad as Concord.
Let's go.
But people were mad at that game because it was coming out that the developer allegedly was working with Sweet Baby Inc. And when people were asking like, hey, can you comment on this? The director of that company that made Flintlock refused to like comment or go above board to say like, no, we're not working on it. They kind of just made like this offhanded tweet saying, no, we did not consult Sweet Baby Inc. And then you look at the credits and Sweet Baby Inc. is there. So then it was like this whole thing of like, well, what the fuck? And I mean, Alan Wake 2, but Alan Wake 2 actually did well. So far, that's like their like proud moment. And there was other things like Spider-Man 2, the Miles Morales DLC, and then there was God of War Ragnarok. They came on board for that one, I think, to like help with the pacing of Norse mythology. So those are their big three.
Keep it paced.
Everything else though has gone up in smoke. Fucking
we have 3 out of 700 successes. Literally. I'd say that's pretty good.
So check this. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to reuse that joke like I did for Last of Us Part 2, but
in fact, I'll list off who they worked for, and then you can kind of just get an idea. So Valve, That's in the conjunction of like their new heroes for like Dota 2 and then this new free to play offering they're doing. 2K goes without saying. Ubisoft, I can only imagine what they were doing on that. Square Enix, Rocksteady, we already know what happened there. People Can Fly. People Can Fly used to work with Epic on Gears of War, and then they went to go do their own thing. Wizards of the Coast, I forget, but I know there's turmoil going on with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Remedy, Alan Wake, Xbox Game Studios. Which I don't. Oh, could be that that game that was set in the Bayou.
Or Scalebound. Scalebound shall never be forgotten. It probably, I think a lot. Like, yeah, people are excited, and like, it wasn't my game. I wasn't interested, but that game probably would have been, or it could have been very, very mid, or really unpolished.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like people are wanting this thing that might not have even been good at all.
Capcom, which I think they were consulted for the remaster to Dead Rising. I think that's what they're on about. Can't remember. It's something new coming out. Alien Rogue Incursion, that one. That was like the VR.
Is that one again?
That was like the VR, and I think it was supposed to be like a tie-in to one of the films or something, but it's completely VR, and this was coming out in like the same vein of it's going to release in December. It's like coming out in the same vein of like the Arkham.
Oh, I like vaguely remember it.
So yeah, I mean that's that in a nutshell. And whenever Sweet Baby is like involved in a project, there's like a literal like, forget, I think it's like a Steam group, but the Steam I wouldn't go there as like the first line of defense against it. Sweet Baby Inc. is not like they're not out to get you, and I'll say that much. It's just that, and anything they touch really, it's been less than stellar. But there's a Steam group that literally posts if Sweet Baby Inc. is like involved with the project, so you can kind of like base your decisions on that. And you know, it's not like every game they touch is like that, but so far it's been an overwhelming majority of games that they have touched so far has been less than stellar, and that's where we are. So people kind of feel like, you know, just to reel this back, like with Blizzard, if you're seeing this from like a bird's eye view, you can see how some people just feel like, oh, okay, well, I'd rather my identity not be sold for profit. And I appreciate that, you know, okay, we're included, but you guys are doing this on the air of like, how can we make money off of this inclusivity? And I'd rather that not be a thing. So when that got leaked, people were like, okay, guys, can we talk about this? And I don't know what's happening with Blizzard internally after that, but that is just kind of weird how you already had a plan to kind of like hit these metrics instead of just like, here's a cool character that I made. There's nothing about him. It's just, here's a nice little character concept. What can we do with this? Instead, now it's, all right, this character has to fit this checkbox.
Yeah. It's like that whole thing for Blizzard, that whole like pie chart or like however like graphs were like leaked or something. And so like you could fill it out yourself and see if like your character or you as a person were like inclusive enough. And I think I remember telling you this years back, but the funniest instance of this was, and again, calling back, Castle Super Beast with Wooly and Pat, where Wooly is this like big kind of like overweight-ish black guy with like dreads, and then Pat is a extremely short white red-headed balding guy. And who do you think is more inclusive?
Unironically, I say Wooly, but I think
it's actually Pat.
Yeah.
Pat hits the boxes more. He's more inclusive.
Yeah.
Than literally being black.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
It's because he's short and a redhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's so fucked.
Oh, I think I remember that one. Like there's like this whole thing of like there's barely like any representation of like redheads. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no. Yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of it's. Yeah, I'm actually I'm not gonna show you guys on podcast. I wouldn't do that. It's wrong. But I mean, this pie chart is like dystopian.
Yeah, that's the one. It's sexual orientation, culture, ethnicity, age, ability, body type, gender, identity. In a
and you have to. You have to.
Diversity space method.
That is wild. And before any of that went down, we just looked at these characters as like, oh, these are just characters in the game. But then the pie chart comes out and it's like, oh, that's why you made this character.
You know, I'm going to be frank. Hoyoverse could take a note or two from this fucking pie chart because holy shit. Have you seen like enough of the characters in their games? Hoyoverse being the people that develop Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and the recent Zenless Zone Zero, as well as others.
Do we have a black character in any of those games?
We have a slightly tanned character.
Oh, okay.
There's a few of them in Genshin Fuck Chat, as I like to call it. But like the most diversity we have in Zenless Zone Zero right now is furries.
Yeah.
Which is just a bear.
Yeah.
No, that and Honky Star Whale is like they're both severely whitewashed. It's so funny. Like people like really, really want some representation. They're just like, can we please have any dark skinned characters? Like it doesn't have to be much, just like anybody.
They're based in Singapore, aren't they? I think they can get away with having a black character. It's not like
they're too busy building a second sun. Okay, they ain't got time for that kind of diversity of other skin tones. Idiot.
There's this,
people love white folk.
Zenless Zone Zero, and like it was like its first week out, and I remember there was this black creator that was like kind of talking about like the combat or whatever, because he was like, here's what you can kind of expect of Zenless Zone Zero. It gets kind of spammy at the beginning, but it's kind of the point to like get you geared up towards the end. So get through it, whatever, and then play your end game. Here's all the characters that we have out on launch now. Look, I'm not going to get into it. I know we've been asking for a black character for a while. Just let it alone. We'll get to there when we get there. And I'm like, well. So then that caused me to like look on the backlog of Hoyoverse characters. I'm going back through Genshin. I'm like, okay, we got Alloy in that game. How do we not have like a...
For the record, literal Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. Like there was a crossover for people that don't know. She was literally in the game, not as any story like content, just as like something you could get for free. I think in Genshin Fuck Chat, there is a total, as of now, of between 3 and 4 characters who have a skin tone that is not white.
Streaking.
That I can think of. 2 of them from the Egypt area, the desert area. Somebody else I'm forgetting. And then a recent one for the new area. She's like small and rides on like some weird vehicle thing. I think that's it.
Absolutely diabolical.
Which Genshin has been out for a while.
Zenless Zone Zero. Furry o'clock. But you can play as the bear. We do give him a pass.
The bear is cool.
The bear is kind of cool.
I've been playing that recently and trying to stick with that. And compared to like Genshin Fuck Chat being an open world, whatever, and just all of the gameplay just being just, oh, it's an open world. You explore, and yeah, the exploration is nice. The music is nice. The art style is nice, but like everything's just marred by the gotcha with one of the 8 characters. And then just, it's like, okay, and there's this thing over here in the open world and you got to go to it. And there's more and more and more. And just the dailies are just, oh my God, they're the worst. And then you have with Honkai Star Rail, which is a good game. It's a turn-based game, but it's just I fell off of it. But then with Zenless Zone Zero, it's got the action style of gameplay that I want. The beginning is extremely slow, and they like give you less than a minute of combat, like per scenario, and then they hit you with a bunch of dialogue. But I'm now at the point where the combat actually got difficult for some of the optional things. And like, I'm enjoying it now. And then what I was going to say was with the bear, which his name is Ben Bigger, which is an awful name.
Yes.
But I rolled, I got 2 of him, or 3 of him at this point. Cause you get 1 for free. I rolled 1 and then I rolled another. So I was like, all right, I'll play as him some. Like he is fun. He's all about, like setting up like perfectly timed blocks followed with counterattacks. That's a fun game. It's a gotcha, but that's a fun game.
I like the characters on it, aside from the first.
Yeah.
They had me pull Ellen a few times. And I was starting to.
But you didn't get your shirt girl, did you?
Ellen is the.
Because he fell off.
Ellen is the circle.
Yeah. And I said, you didn't get hurt, right?
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
Here's the thing. They had me pull her a few times.
Oh, you got her more than once? Wow.
And so now I happily play Ellen on mobile.
That's fair. Except for the mobile part. I can't. I need the physical controller. And also my phone can't run the game that well.
Just pair your phone to your controller. Dumbass. It's the future. Most controllers these days can just be paired Bluetooth.
Yeah, or they have like the kind of controllers that go on the side that like attach to your phone.
I was thinking about picking
just
one
looks
of
like a
those
switch.
up. Yeah, I mean, my phone can probably turn into one.
I thought about it, but I was like, only if my phone, my new one that I got like last month, only if it can run like games well enough. And like I said, it can't. So I'm like, better. I don't really go anywhere enough to like justify between that and like the Steam Deck. It's like my PC is right here. Like I work from here. I play from here. For those who don't know, because the last time the podcast was active and I was on it 3 years ago, I was working a school custodial job. Since then, I got very sick of that job. So I made my own business and I'm a freelance video editor now. And like my business has just reached the point now where like I'm financially stable. But like as of now, like I don't leave the house that much or like around my property that much. So having something on the go doesn't work for me. Like, oh, you could take it into the other room, or I could just be on my PC in this room.
You don't know how good it is anymore to just like be on the couch, straight up chilling, relaxing, all cool, doing some b-ball outside of the school, but coming back home.
But I thought you were on your couch.
But coming back home and then being on the couch.
Oh, okay.
And then I can just put my phone in the kickstand mode, you feel me? And then just have it on the desk. And then I'm just playing Diablo 1 with my controller.
Yeah, you said you have Dead Space on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the OG or the remake?
There's no shot I'd get that to run on this. I wish.
I was gonna say
maybe if you have like GeForce Now, because you just stream it, but I don't have that sort of space.
Oh man,
yeah, no, this phone has a lot of space, and is able to run everything just fine. I was thinking about getting like a phone cooler. It's like a CPU cooler, but it's like for your phone.
Mm.
I was thinking about picking that up, given how many games I can like play on it, but I don't play my mobile games like that to the point where it's like one of those like Pokemon Go streamers where they're just out there like the entire time their phone has battery, and then they have like the extra, the replacement battery on standby.
Yeah, and then they get mugged.
Yeah,
run over.
Yeah,
and then the shooting happens.
I'm so glad that phase is over. That was crazy. People weren't watching where they were going.
It's not entirely. That's not entirely a streamer. Well, granted, they weren't playing Pokemon Go, but like a IRL live streamer, I think over in Japan, was like robbed of their phone midstream.
There's so many like shady things that go on like IRL streams in Japan. I don't know if you saw the clip of like it was a guy who was like kind of just like chilling with his guy, and then these like two girls had like walked up to him to like the group and kind of just like inserted themselves. So then like the guy that's streaming, he's kind of like, okay, I kind of see what's going on here. In the back, you can see like two guys were following those girls. So then they were just like, okay, I'm gonna act like I know these two random white dudes that are just like not doing anything. So they were just like acting like, oh, we found you, blah 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 blah. Let's go. And then you can see like the two guys still tailing this now group of four people. It's like, all right, what are we doing right now? It's kind of crazy. I've seen so many like really weird like clips that have been coming out of there.
The thing that worries me about that, like, because like I've thought about doing IRL streams, like around here or whatever on walks. The thing that worries about me in that situation, either me or somebody else, is like being close enough to your house that people can find where you live.
Oh, no, don't get me fucked up.
Yeah.
You ever see those memes of like, my wife?
No, I hate memes. Good talk.
My wife.
My wife.
Me
what about her?
For like $5 because of a Facebook Marketplace post. She wanted to sell her chair for like $5, and now here I am about to get like mugged or murdered.
That's the point, sweetie. I want to collect that sweet, sweet life insurance. And go out there.
It's not crazy that it's like genuinely accepted that like, no, don't ever sell something at your home. It's like the days of like, garage sales and stuff like that. Like, no, don't do that. No, if you're gonna,
no, never do it. Period. Even if you go to a second location, like make sure you go with a bunch of people.
At that point, yeah.
Like there's this old joke of like, oh yeah, if we're gonna be selling something on like Craigslist or whatever, like I need to like I'm going to a wedding, so I'm like, oh well, I might as well have this scheduled at the same. Can everybody come with me for this Craigslist purchase so I don't get mugged?
That's great.
Everybody at the wedding.
I mean, yeah, just like my IRL streams, or not streams, fuck me. My any IRL or live stuff that I do, like that's like inside, like cooking.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, no, you will not be catching anywhere of the outside of these premises. I am sorry. It's just not going to happen. But
or even like doing one out in your yard, like 4chan or some fucking freaks / heroes, depending on the circumstance. But like, yeah, they can just triangulate your point in less than an hour.
Honest to God, the fact that they can do that off of like pixels. It's like if I
recognize this bush. It's the North American scribble.
If I ever go missing, like call them cats. Don't involve the police. Just get 4chan.
Fucking honestly. There's at least somebody dedicated out there who will find you for $20.
It's that one dude that does like the geoguessing stuff, and he's able to do that like off of like the.
Oh God, yeah. It's like, oh no, I've recognized this rock. I've seen this rock before.
There's one where he like guesses where like the place is or whatever based off of the table in the restaurant inside a fucking building. And was able to.
It's made of the North American maple tree.
Like able to like, yeah. I think we got everything that we need here, guys. And everything that we need here, guys, is like him able to like zoom out of the photo and see like a corner of the menu. He goes, I think we're off the coast of Chile. So there I was.
Were you?
Yeah, I was perusing the memes. Eventually.
Yeah, I heard of a guy recently. What's that?
I was going to say eventually, I would like to do some IRL stuff. I think that would be fun. I'd talk about it like every year. Like, oh, I'd love to do some IRL stuff.
I want to do something out in my living room because I've been told I have a nice living room, but like, I don't know what to do out in my living room.
Build something.
Aside from like VR stuff.
Build a thing. Build a
I want to like, I don't want to do anything that's just like there for content. Like I want to do something that I want to do.
Build a thing. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like get like a Warhammer kit. You can get yourself a Space Marine. Yeah. You can paint it how you want.
No, I said earlier, I barely know anything about so 40K or Warhammer in general.
That's how a lot of people get into it though. Like get some like miniature and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want to learn about these guys. Oh.
Look, if the game is fun enough and I actually get it, we'll see where we're at with me enjoying more Warhammer related things aside from just
I got some
the rat game.
I got some Skaven miniatures. Those are the rats. I got some Skaven miniatures. Those sit on the desk, and that's I got more invested into. I'm more into fantasy Warhammer, by the way, guys. Those of you that couldn't tell. I like 40K, but I don't know enough about it. I don't care enough. And every time I like try to get invested, there's like some new shit, and I can't keep up. I think some of the Space Marine chapters are cool. Some people think you're a poser if you're part of certain Space Marine factions. So I'm just like, all right. I keep it simple. Give me the Ratman. Give me the human. Have them fight it out. That's cool. Maybe sometime an orc. That's good. But you can probably build something with your hands, you know? Maybe like a desk. Show people how to build a goddamn desk.
No.
Well, I don't know what you want to do then, guy. Try to throw stuff out there.
I said I don't know what I want to do. Anyway, there was a guy. There was a guy who has been walking for, I think, 20 some years, just around the world, and I just heard about him the other day. It's like he's all this time been walking, and he recently got stuck. Forget exactly where, but he's been stuck because like if he can't go around, or rather he can't take any means of transportation like a boat or like a plane. So like
how the fuck does he get
like
across?
going through the Arctic? Yeah. He swam.
No.
Yeah. No.
He's not walking.
Well, no. He's not taking transportation.
No.
So his deal right now is, and I forget exactly where this is, but it's either he has the choice of going up through Russia, which is not good right now, or going through a Middle Eastern country, which is not good right now.
No.
So he's like, well, I guess I'm going to swim this distance. So he's been trying to do that.
That sounds incredibly stupid and dangerous and stupid.
This guy's been walking for 20 years. I think we're past that point.
Yeah, but that was probably when you were able to like walk into Russia and like you'd generally be okay.
Well, it's just because of the war with Ukraine going on right now. It's the main thing.
It's crazy that's still going on.
It's just both areas are having, war things.
Okay, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to anybody that actually follows the Ukraine stuff. My bad. Isn't it crazy how like, reminder, I'm a Dota player, and like every year, like the the big.
I can't wait to see how this links in.
The big like tournament for Dota, the international, that's held in Kiev like every year. They couldn't do that for like the past couple of years, obviously, given the state of like everything. But it was crazy that it wasn't too long ago where we were just like chilling in like Kiev to like everything is like a no-go right now. People that you very well may know, especially that are like developing your games, like a lot of stuff came out of Ukraine. Like they are very well like fighting in this right now. Like that is nuts to kind of think about. There's this.
Well, look at the Stalker 2 devs.
Yeah.
Like there was an interview recently that like, yeah, they are tired, but like they're finishing this game so everybody can know that, yeah, we're still here despite everything that happened. Like, say what you want about like, oh, I'm going to be disappointed when Stalker 2 releases and the game ends up being bad. Like, despite all the circumstances, I'll at least give it not like, I'm not saying it's great yet, but I'll at least give it a pass.
God, you go through COVID and fucking, having to work from
a literal war.
Home. And then literally like next day, it's just like, hey guys, yeah, we're going to war right now. Like, yeah.
The office is gone. We have people working from literally their bathrooms.
God.
And the people going to war and like some of them have died.
Game probably wins Game of the Year alone based off of that. Like people died.
Nah, it'll probably be Metal Gear Solid V, which as of technically yours still today, it's been 9 years.
You on board yet?
No, I will never be on board.
Nope.
That game is the most finished game I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, but play it and you understand.
I've played it.
No, you haven't.
And then I learned more about it, which you refused to learn more
I've
about.
I've learned everything I needed to know about it.
No, you haven't.
My opinions have not swayed.
You really haven't. Because I'm like, oh, check out this stream. And then you can actually see and hear why.
I've heard so much.
For one thing, I find no. And I'm not gonna. I decided that no, I'm not gonna convince you of something that you'll never be convinced of. And same for you being like, no, but the game's good though.
Well, you've had your say, and I'll have mine, Potion Seller.
Exactly.
You don't respect knights.
No, I like potions. To just say that for those that don't know, from a development standpoint, the MGSV was just a complete mess. Aside from Kojumble being ousted by Konami, even aside from that,
I have heard all of the dissent that this game can have. I have heard it. I feel the anguish. But there is no other stealth sandbox out there right now
and that's the thing. I know we've talked about it, and you came to the conclusion, like a realization. You were like, yeah, this is we don't have many stealth games, so I have to enjoy this, is basically what you were saying.
Well, yes.
It's like, I get that, but also you're too blind to see what's killing them.
What was the last good like stealth game that wasn't this? No, Shadows of Doubt came out. No, never mind. No, good. All right, go fuck yourself.
Gladly.
Aside from Shadows of Doubt, what was like a really good like stealth game that came out within like the past few years?
Resident Evil 4 remake.
To say that game has stealth, if that game has stealth, then I am the best ever.
What do you mean? It plays just like a Metal Gear game.
It's exactly
you can
like Splinter
run
Cell.
up really fast. Hey, yeah, you can run up really fast to your enemies and then just instantly take them out. It's just like a Metal Gear.
Able to walk right in front of somebody's face, sprint, get behind them, still get the stealth kill, and like everything was completely fine.
Man, I saw earlier because there's a marathon subathon going on right now. For one of the people I usually talk about who streams Metal Gear. I saw earlier, just there was a group of 2 guys walking right in like quote unquote Snake. Big Medic was standing like right in front of them, running around, and the one noticed, but the other one's head was slightly turned so much to a point that just did not notice. So like the dude got like a surrender basically because they were aiming their gun at them. That game sucks. You suck.
I don't think I could ever
drop pod.
I don't think I could ever play it like that. Where like you're like like the sandbox to Metal Gear Solid 5 is it allows for so much like player expression There's like so many things you could do to like get to the objective. It's just like I could never play in like the way that, you know, I saw like Donkey playing, for instance, in that one video. It's like I refuse to play that way. There was this one video where the guy like drives into a base with like a Jeep, gets out to like make the guards confused, so they're investigating the Jeep, gets like the hands up thing to go off, kills that guy. So then somebody else goes to investigate the guy that just fell on the ground. And I didn't even know you could do this, but he pops the smoke inside of the Jeep, drives the Jeep away.
Yeah, Yep. I was just going to say that. Well, that's one of my favorite things. There's a one mission in particular that's effective.
I didn't even
like really, really effective.
I didn't even know you could do that. Let alone that should just like immediately be like, oh, okay, something's wrong there. No, it's just all right.
I think one of the shittiest parts about that game, though, is like, aside from the story, is how the game can literally only render 12 people at once.
Yeah.
And you look at Peace Walker and it's opening on the PSP and its opening scene, and there's like almost 20 people. Because if you don't know, if you have a 13th or more person on the screen, like enemies, then they will turn into shadowy cloud people and they will not be displayed. The game can literally only handle 12 people at once, plus the player.
This is the way you just develop Silent Hill. Having the fog there kind of reduces the resource intensity. So you probably have more than 12.
Well, they tried to, but Good Jumble embezzled funds to try to do that with PT.
A lot of people that dick righted Kojima during that like initial year of 5 being out. So I remember I was watching like Rageaholic like at that point in my life. See, he used to like lamb-based games. Like he would just start roasting games like left and right. And he was like, guys, you understand that like Kojima is not a fucking writer, and yet he is plastered on every fucking mission, every design decision. This guy can't write for shit. And you guys have kind of just accepted him as like your Lord Savior.
I forget who it was, but they had left for MGS4. So that's why like the codec calls were definitely not as good. And also they were like very much fewer. The writing in writing in 4 is fucking ridiculous. 4 has its own issues. It has good gameplay,
It does.
but you only get to play for about like 7 minutes before you get into like 10 minutes of cutscenes. I think even like 2 and 3 kind of have that problem too. There's more gameplay, but there's still like, it's a lot of cutscenes. And especially if you listen to all the codec calls, then you're just in for not a lot of playing for some periods of time. But it's, fine to an extent that, the writing is really good. And 4, it's just the cutscenes go on and on.
I loved
You don't have those codec
4
calls.
to death. Oh, I love 4 to death. God, I loved 4 to death. Probably more so than 2. Oh, and Snake Eater.
I think like when I first was like watching and getting interested in the series, I think 3 was my favorite. But and then I was like, hey, 2 is really, really well written. And then kind of looking at it now, I'm like, no, 1 is probably the best because
1 is definitely really good.
The bosses are really good. Just everything about it, like it's fresh-ish. There was Metal Gear and then Metal Gear 2, of course, before that. But it's just like, oh, here are the like main enemies, like the main bosses that you're gonna fight, and they all have their own unique abilities and stuff. Not that, the MSX games didn't have those, but it's like, that was cool. And the writing was really good. And you had all those codec calls. Like, it's always a pleasure hearing, Nastasha just talk about like nukes and such. It's going into detail about, weapons or whatever. Just, it's really good.
Talked about this on a previous episode, but at this point, I considered season 3 as like a reboot of the franchise of Drop Pod, trademarked, registered. This is Drop Pod 2, episode 22. Anyway, I said this on a previous episode, pre us getting bought out by me.
Not by Razer?
No, never.
Okay.
No, not when I say that. They're completely land-based them because of their turmoil. Anyway, I had said that like some of my fondest like gaming moments are like Metal Gear Solid 1. So my hands were like too stubby because I was a baby. I remember having to like have my dad like come home just to help me like beat like certain sections of the game. Like he'd literally have to like leave work, come home because I didn't know how to get past the tank at like the very beginning. I was like visibly making me upset.
Don't belong in Alaska.
God, playing that nowadays is like, it's so fun because like there's so many like small details that like I didn't see on a fucking CRT like television. I'm like getting on like the GOG release. It's fun. That's a fun game to like return to every year.
You know, the funniest part of all of this is like I know so much about Metal Gear as a series, and I played V for all of 30-ish hours. I touched 2 for 20-ish minutes and played 3 for an additional touch of about like 30 minutes. So I'm the biggest grifter of them all. I've barely played any of these fucking games. I just know a lot about them. I'll be playing the remake of 3. We'll be getting it from a key reseller because fuck Konami.
He really likes throwing that one in there. I agree with him, but he really likes throwing that in there. He has said this every time this game gets brought up. I am going to buy it from a key reseller. I agree. Fuck Konami is literally the follow up.
I just want that stance to be, you know, well heard and well known.
I don't want you guys to think that I'm supporting Konami in any way.
Forget the early access thing, you know, earlier, the paragon of humanity, et cetera, et cetera. Count me on not buying games directly from Konami. Hashtag fuck Konami.
Correct.
Look, if they wanted to be a gotchi, what is it? What are the roulette machines? I forget what they're called.
Pachinko?
Yeah, thank you. They wanted to be a gotchi pachinko manufacturer, developer, then they should have stayed as that. They shouldn't have like announced that they were leaving the gaming industry. They should have died, basically, is what I'm saying, and then sold off their IPs to people who actually would have done good things with them, aside from the majority of what Silent Hill is being thrust into with what Ascension, a short letter, whatever it's called, the other thing. But at least we're getting Silent Hill Fuck, otherwise known as Silent Hill F, which has a distinct, interesting art style and design, and actually good writer behind it.
Isn't it strange?
Which
nobody's really talking about like why Konami is even making video games all of a sudden.
Because they realize that is more popular, and they're making 2 remakes. Remakes are big.
Well, they're safe.
That too. Safe as so long as you do them right. Like, I don't fucking trust Bloober.
I mean,
say that 100 times.
I mean,
but as of right now, with recent like gameplay footage, and then also just the fact that Snake Eater is using the original voices, and they're apparently bringing like them back for additional little random things that they have to re-record or whatever. I don't know. Those are going to sound really off. But it's like, at least they're using the original voices. Like, why couldn't Silent Hill 2 remake use those voices? Guy Seehee, etc. Because they wanted to make their new thing.
It was like
it's like safe, but not
they
safe.
were going to lose like IP rights to like some of these things. So then they're just like, all right, let's start getting some studios back up, guys. Let's start churning these out. Oh, you guys want a Silent Hill? We look at how many Silent Hill games we have.
Here, have four.
Literally, yep.
Have four.
Hey, remember Metal Gear?
Half of them are gonna fucking suck.
Remember Metal Gear, guys? Remember that one? Remember when we used to do those? Remember that one guy that we
okay, we're done. We're done with NFTs. We swear. Here, have Castlevania too. Whatever remaster thing came out for that, I have no idea. There's no people are really excited.
You guys remember Metal Slug? You guys like that one? Remember that? Are you guys old enough for that? You guys remember that?
We're gonna change the art style, but there's Metal Slug.
Remember when we did Metal Slug, guys? Remember that? Remember when we made games? Everybody.
Hashtag fuck Konami.
Correct. And on that bombshell, everybody, you guys got a 3-hour episode this week.
Seriously, I wanted to do like a 5-minute show.
Have you guys typed just that one? Yeah, I heard that apparently like long form stuff is starting to do like really good again. So like,
do people have more time?
No, it's more so,
or they just need more background
literally
noise. That. Hell yeah, Subway Surfers, baby. Half of my life is a Subway Surfer. Let's go. If I'm not streaming, then I'm on the podcast. Half of my life is a Subway Surfer. Let's go.
Yeah, most of the time it's just, you're doing other things. Like, all right, well, it needs something to listen to. Drown out the monotony. Like housework or whatever.
I hope we're your favorite white noise listener.
I would hope so. I will. I'm probably going to have to ask that gentleman that also has the name of Drop Pod to relinquish that name because we're coming up. I'm not going to give myself any flack. The previous episodes have been doing pretty good. There are some podcasts right now that are kind of like debating, like, should we just stop on their show? Like, should we just stop? I feel like, yeah, maybe we'll do like 8 more episodes and we'll kind of just stop because we're not really getting that many. Like 20,000 views an episode, but they're like big, like YouTubers. So it's like you get 20,000.
Yeah.
And the thing's like, should we keep doing? It's like, dude, I would trade places with your show, with my show, and then we'll see who actually wants to stop. But the previous episodes have been doing really well.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Been having one more,
even though I've been on one of them.
Season 3 drop.
Now tell
your goddamn friends, your listeners. Is how I address you. Yeah, but I think it was episode 18. That one's like been pretty well received. I think it was up to like 500. So I don't even know what happened on that episode. It was just that one gelled. I don't know.
The algorithm was right. Just right.
You hear that?
Hit all those tags just perfectly. You released at the exact time you needed to. Perfect.
If I were to repeat those circumstances again, I wouldn't do it, and I don't want to do it. I'm going to ponder my orb on what I said in the last 5 minutes. Okay, good night, everybody. All right, actually, no. Sorry, I lied. No, well, maybe I didn't. It's going to be night somewhere. When
it's 5 o'clock somewhere day. Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, no, that's a safe one.
Have a day, if not a good one.
What was that? What was the thing you said? Have the day you deserve.
No, that was from that was from my cousin. My cousin's friend who was very upset. Well, they're not friends anymore. She was very upset and she was harassing my cousin. And so she said in a message, I hope you two have the day you deserve. Chat, I hope you have the day you just chat. Chat, do you see this shit, chat? I hope you have the day you deserve, dear listeners.
Oh my God. It's like the right amount of sass. It's like you can't tell if they're like being that guy. It's just kind of.
I hope you have the day you deserve. Yeah, you too.
Oh, thanks.
Enjoy your food. You too.
Good day.
Farewell.